Hey everyone, welcome to our discussion today on the EdTech industry. Thanks a lot for joining us. The EdTech industry in India is a massive industry and is growing rapidly. You have major players, startups who have become unicorns. So they are Byju's, which is the biggest. Then you have Unacademy, Upgrad, Vedantu, and Eruditus. You must have seen ads of these companies because they have been majorly funded and they have done major mass marketing campaigns as well. So the COVID pandemic impacted this industry quite a lot. Before the pandemic, the industry size, so I'm talking specifically to India, the Indian edtech industry was around USD 735 million. Now it is around 3.5 billion. So in just 3 years, you can check out how much growth has got. And why did this happen? It is due to change in consumer behavior because of this pandemic. So the industry has penetrated tier 2 and 3 cities and even villages now. The consumption of online courses has increased exponentially. There was a very interesting announcement that has will have a major impact on this industry going forward. If not, it has grown that much, it is going to grow even more because of this announcement. This announcement was made by India's finance minister Nirmala I'm sorry, Nirmala Sritaraman announced in the last budget, and I quote, a digital university will be established to provide access to students across the country for world class quality universal education with personalized learning experience at their doorsteps. The best public universities and institutions in the country will collaborate in this digital university as a network of hubs for. This will give a huge impetus to this particular industry. So, if you see what the edtech industry basically consists of, is obviously anybody having online coaching format basically. So you have large, medium, and small players, which you can say more or less are aggregators. They are bringing the coaches to the students and coaches together, and then they come basically to their particular digital property. And also a lot of freelance online coaches who have set up their own. Business. So the great thing in this industry is that it has created a lot of opportunities for freelancers. Also, it could be a case where you are working full time, but part time you are, conducting these courses or workshops. So you are maybe marketing yourself, or you are associated with some particular university or some particular site, and you are giving these particular lectures. So, coming to our discussion, it will be based on specifically marketing services of educators, and we'll cover a lot of things like within like the content creation, social media outreach, how you have to design your marketing campaigns, how do you grow your particular audience as an online coach. Awesome. So great. So let me come to my particular panelists. So I'll firstly go to Prakriti Gaur. Hi Prakriti, how are you doing?
Hi Nikhil, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. So I'll give an introduction of Prakriti to the audience. So Prakriti defines herself as a marketer with a pinch of psychology. She completed her graduation in psychology and gained an MBA in marketing as an Erasmus Mundus scholar from the University of Ljubljana, Slovenia. So did I pronounce that right?
It's Ljubljana. Yes.
Ljubljana, okay. Ljubljana in Slovenia. Okay, so she has worked in diverse settings ranging from varied not for profits to the educational sector and shares a deep passion to make a significant impact in the society. So she's a classical dancer and also a published author. Prakriti strongly believes in the power of words and the difference it can make. Great. So Prakriti, you may have mentioned that you're a published author, so you can tell us like about the book that you published.
Sure. Firstly, thank you for a great introduction, Nikhil. That's very sweet of you. And yes, so I've managed to publish a book last year in November, which is a book of poems, and it's 25 poems based on love, lost life. So I think it came into being. I've always been very fond of writing, but then finally I could accumulate and gather all of my poems together, and these are real life experiences that I've had. So finally, I think something that I can hold and say that these are like a collection of the experiences that I've had when I was studying, and of course overworked, experiencing different cultures and cities. It's called The Breathings of the Heart. And if any of you like to try your hand in poetry, please do catch up the book. It's on Amazon and other Google platforms as well.
That's great. That's awesome. So, and it's very difficult to write a book, and it takes a lot of self-discipline, also reflection. So, definitely that's a great achievement. And being a published author definitely helps in growing your own personal brand. Awesome. So,
Sure, definitely.
yes, great. So, I'll come to the next panelist. So, the next panelist is Pragya Mishra. Hi, Pragya. How are you? Can you? I think you're on mute.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, Nikhil. I'm good. How about you?
I'm also doing great. So, Pragya is a freelance B2B social media marketer. She's also a LinkedIn strategist and an edtech enthusiast. She's currently associated with Great Learning as an education mentor. After gaining work expertise from corporates as a social media marketer, she quit her job to pursue full time freelancing. Till now, she's worked with clients of 5 countries, including the US, Canada, and UK. It's great having you for this discussion, Pragya.
Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So let us dive into our panel discussion. So the first thing a marketer does is firstly the objective. What is the objective? Why are we doing this marketing? They identify that and then they create a strategy. So we'll start with the words basic for which anyone can use if they are trying to design and have their own any kind of online course. So how do you design this particular strategy? I'll go to Prakriti so that she can take us through it.
Yeah, so I think it's very important. Firstly, I think strategy is something which is a very small word, and I think the kind of homework and the background work behind it is so much. And I always have experienced it myself, and then I always think, when we implement that strategy, a very strong strategy is the basis and the foundation of any kind of an output that we actually are looking for. And especially in the field of online learning or anything online for that matter, I think strategy is even more important than ever. And with the kind of retention span people have, the consumers, the way content is being consumed, strategy is kind of coming to highlight. And that is what I'm going to deep dive into. How can we get hold of firstly forming the basis or the forming steps of forming a strategy. So I think it's very important. For example, if we're trying to say create an online campaign, an online marketing campaign, and the product could be anything. The most important thing is firstly who's your audience, who is the target audience, what is the kind of persona, what is the kind of profile, because it's very important to understand whom you are talking to. What story are you telling? What is your tonality? Uh, what are you talking to them? How are you talking to them? So I think the very first step is to understand the consumer in a very in-depth way, and that is when the whole background work of the I always say the why, the what, and the how starts. The why is firstly, why are you reaching out, or why is a product or a service very important? And the what, of course, becomes what are you telling them, what are you communicating? And then, of course, we come to the how part, which is the strategy part. How are we going to do it? So, with a dearth of examples being there, I think it's very easy to read different strategies that we can develop. But I think it's also important to understand. I'll again go back to the consumer, because each strategy can be personalized. The minute you have a differentiator, that becomes the USP. And I think that is why in the online world, of course, with getting through a pandemic for 2 years and still going on, it's very important to have that differentiator when everybody is communicating and talking about the same thing. How are you differentiating yourself? What strategy are you building on? And is the strategy working? I mean, I think making and building and implementing is fine, but what's working, what's not working? uh, do you know the consumer well? How are they responding? How's the engagement? How are we measuring? I think that is extremely important. So of course this is more on the basis of how do we form one. And I think there's no right answer to that really, because it could be anything. You can target to a niche audience who have a very limited interest. You can still have, like, say, 10 people targeted, and there are about, what, 5 6 people turning up, say for example, for a literature festival, if you want to do. And that's okay, because you are targeting a niche audience. But if you're communicating to a wider audience, and of course the strategy and the communication behind it will be very different.
That's right. But it would, what you've talked about, those pointers would remain the same. Obviously, the size at which your particular budget is or the operations is, that would even, but this would be like the persona based targeting method or a strategy around who is going to actually come. You have to create different personas. So, say for example, I'm creating a social media marketing course, like say more specific, say for Instagram. So I would look at certain age group that is there mostly on Instagram, or looking at becoming a social preneur basically. And then accordingly I can look what are they looking online and what are the interests and all, and accordingly how do I reach out to them.
Yeah, definitely. I think the demographics is very important, because once we know who the consumer is, where are they hanging out, what are they reading, who are they, what is the lifestyle, what is the age bracket, what are the kind of choices that they're making. I think once we understand, and like you said, Nikhil, very correctly, a persona profile needs to be created, especially with respect to an online course. Right now, I think we are in a space where data is so valuable, and it is also easier to target your audience, because people are always searching, they're always online. So I think data plays a very major role here, which can be used and which can of course be very beneficial in the way you are targeting your audience and the way you categorizing them. I think it's almost like creating a human or a person right in front of you, that this is what my person likes, this is what he or she eats, this is the kind of friends they have, this is the kind of lifestyle they have. And then targeting becomes very easy, because you know where they're staying, you know what kind of habits they have. So demographics, and I think that's how the filters and the whole targeting works. When we have campaigns and when you have a whole strategy behind it, the strategy of course starts from what do you want to communicate, what do you want to sell, how are you going to do it, and then when you're doing it, how are you communicating it, and then of course how are you promoting and boosting it. So I think it's a 360-degree view of your entire person, because your world revolves around them, and you have to know them extremely well for being able to be heard in the first place. Once you know that they are able to hear you, that's when the actual thing starts, and that's when you start communicating. So I always feel that strategy is like a uh, like a pre-work before you actually start doing the right thing.
That's right. Also, in terms of the strategy, as per the social media that you are using, because sometimes what happens, a lot of coaches who are online, they feel like there are a lot of, say, for example, short video apps basically, where you are putting, say, 15 seconds or 30 seconds. So they could kind of use the same content for all three or four of those different platforms. So, do you think that should be done, and maybe also on the non-short video you're putting it, because everyone has a section, like you have YouTube Shorts, you have uh, I think some other, even Facebook has brought in where you are bringing the Reels part of it. So, um, do you think like there has to be a different strategy if you have that wavelength where you can take out time and have a more customized strategy as per the social media app? Should that be kind of done, or it's like just the, if it's a short video app or something, then you can kind of use the same content for all of them?
I feel that it should be different because, and that's where I think the specific targeting happens. Because when you are communicating to a millennial kind of an audience, for example, for them, Facebook is ancient. It's like the dinosaur time. They're all hanging out on Instagram and now on might not be on Twitter. So I think the kind of content that goes on, say, for example, LinkedIn is not appropriate for Facebook sometimes. What
Hmm.
goes out on Instagram, which is more personal, a lot of B2C business happens on Instagram now. You can just connect with the kind of, say, for example, I'm fond of vegan kind of a cutlery, or I'm into sustainable fashion. I can just really directly communicate with the business, and they are selling the shirts or the cutlery to me. And what better than that can happen, and they constantly engaging me. So something which is a Facebook might not be able to communicate on that kind of a wavelength, because Instagram is more personal that way. You
Hmm.
follow, and the whole space is like that. And LinkedIn is very different. Twitter extremely is different. Twitter can be of a space where you're not tweeting, but you just are there for awareness. You're just following people, and you know what's going around in the world. So I think definitely the messaging, what I feel is, should be different. Because the minute we start about different audience, they are on different platforms, and they
Hmm.
consume platforms in a very
The
different way. So a little bit
and the
of tweak, a
specific
little bit of
content,
tailoring.
it could give the same message, but the way it's designed also can vary on that platform, even though both can be a short video platform. But the way the things are designed around it, like the text coming in, or what you are speaking, certain effects and all, that will work on one app and not work. So if that extra effort is done, I think it will bring, because main is like you're not just putting for the sake of it, you're trying to optimize. So it's better to then stay off that network if you don't have to stay on just maybe two or three. But if you're on, I think you should look at the kind of content that is becoming popular there, or it is that being accepted more on that platform.
True, true. I think that's very well said. I mean, say for example, I say my name is Prakriti, I can say that on Facebook. And I'll tweak it on Instagram and say I am called the nature on Instagram. Maybe on
Yes,
LinkedIn, I can say, hi, I'm Prakriti Gaur. So, I'm just giving an example, but then definitely, I think once you know your target audience, it gets very easy to, the shorter the videos are on Instagram works well. It can be a little more longer on Facebook, LinkedIn, of course. And I think, the platforms are telling you themselves. Instagram doesn't let you upload or something conveniently if it's not an IGTV, not for more than a minute. And that's where the platform is telling you that, hello, people are going to consume the content for less than a minute. Facebook doesn't do that. So, I think once we have that understanding of also the platforms, then of course it gets very easier to catch your audience on whatever platform they're available on.
that's right. Great. So we'll go to our next question, because this will be very. This is on the lines of what we were discussing. That as an online coach, on we are just going to talk now on what LinkedIn and Instagram, because they are the two most popular where you can establish your expertise in a particular domain. So everyone wants to be discovered. So say you are in marketing or finance or HR, you want to get discovered as per the people's hashtags or searches. So how do you get do that, or how do you kind of optimize your strategy? I'll go to Pragya for this.
Well, discoverability is a like it looks like a something which is quite easy, just like you do on Google and you just put it or you find it. But the map behind that we follow actually, the back part is actually a bit crucial and requires a bit of your attention. So, for example, if you are doing it on LinkedIn, so it starts with simply knowing why you are on that particular platform, any platform that you are following, and knowing your customer persona, defining it, and understanding what are the words, what are the keywords that your prospects are looking for, right? And in fact, it's not only limited to that. Once you know, like, who exactly your target persona is, your target audience is, then you go and check out how they do that, what they are looking for, and how exactly you want to put out your message so that it is exactly parallel to what they are looking for, because it should be consistent. And I have seen many people, they look for being unique. So you can't do that when you are doing this for searchability, because
Hmm.
there are chances that those unique words that you just have used might not be open, might not be good for those people who are there searching for that particular word, right? So what you have to do is to find out those relevant keywords and craft your profile. So once you know your audience, once you know your profile thing, once you know your target audience, the second thing comes into the picture is to uh, optimize optimize your profile thoroughly. So it starts with very basic of your profile picture and goes to testimonial section as well, right? So once you know that, okay, you are someone who is from maybe beauty industry, so you would like to put a picture which is actually into it, like which shows your personality in that profile picture, right? And then you define it, right? Because for example, again, I would take LinkedIn. So you have headline, so you want to use that thoroughly. So you would not only get what has already been given by LinkedIn, instead you would like to optimize it, right? And then you will go for your story, that is about section, and it goes to till the end, understanding your skills and adding up adding up testimonials that could boost your credibility, that actually boost your credibility and all, right? And then once you have done this, then you go for the further steps, that is creating content and connecting with people and engaging with people, right? So when you start creating content, again, it should be very consistent to your tone. You got to define your tone, you got to understand your message, like tonality and other things, right? And then
In this, I wanted to ask you that for the sake of discoverability, so if a person is more engaged, so he is messaging a lot on that platform or commenting a lot, that has a does it have a direct impact?
impact, see, the point is, again, if your message is consistent, if your because you got to know
So
where you
in this,
want to.
what I meant is that the person who is engaging more on the platform than just broadcasting. So he is also going on other people's content and he is commenting on it, and there's a lot of messaging also on the back end campaigns and all or whatever. So does that have a impact than a person who's just broadcasting it like a celebrity, just putting out what they have created there?
So, see, you need to be mindful when you are putting out your message. So, for example, simply you are just because you are putting lots of content does not mean you will end up being successful, right? Like you will gain the desired results. So, it should be very well crafted, and that's why we marketers come into the picture. So, the point is, you got to know like why you are doing what you are doing. So for example, if you're connecting with people, so just you cannot connect with anyone. Obviously you can if you want to, but the point is it should be someone who is directly or indirectly related to what you are doing on the
Hmm.
platform, right? So if you are creating content, so for example, if you are in edtech and you are creating motivational content, no doubt, maybe cats and dogs posts, right? No doubt you will gain quite good engagement, but that does not mean that you will end up getting good results of it, right, out of it, right? So
Hmm.
obviously the route go to reach your particular destination could be a bit long. It does take time. It You are going to take experiments. You will have to do lots of experiment. You might need to try and put out different things, and then you will find what exactly is working for you and what not, because there is not one picture fits all frame, like one frame that can fit all pictures, right? So you got to understand which exactly what is the measure for your picture that you want to show to your target audience. And again, it should not be too big that they can see, and it should not be too small that they would not even look at what exactly you are trying to put out, right? So again, it should be in the in consistence, it should be in the in line with what your customers looking for and what you want to provide there.
That's right.
Yes.
Also, in this, I've observed like platforms, say on LinkedIn, the say you are doing a messaging campaign, you're messaging a lot of people, certain of services you provide, or just like for connections and networking and all. The person you're more engaged with, then they come. If you posted something, it comes into their feed. So that is also, you have to know how these algorithms work. Where, so say I'm messaging 10 people constantly and there's a back and forth, so when I post, it will 100% reach those 10 people if they're on LinkedIn. So it depends at what volume you are doing, because I know there are a lot of top level management where they have somebody who is representing or taking care of their LinkedIn profile also, what is being posted and that kind of thing. So there also, and in some cases I've heard also they have somebody is handling their messaging and that kind of it. So like how it happens in the case of a celebrity, like they are handling their social media or something like that. So I would say that you, from all angles, it is there's an impact on the algorithm. So how engaged you are, plus direct reach outs also, say like what obviously the response that you get on your content and all, how much is being shared also. So everything is having an impact. So it's almost become like a no full-time job in just the promotion bit of it for the people, but that is kind of a reality in it.
Right. There is a ripple effect. Like everything has a
Yes.
its impact. Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, on your end as an online coach, you have to decide. Obviously, you have limited time. How much can you do? That's why you cannot compare yourself with somebody who is having more at a higher position in general, having more resources. Because on the back end, a lot of things are being done. So you can never compare, because then that has an impact on the reach. So you have to kind of, it as a step by step. You have to know where you are in the pecking order and accordingly design. Obviously, you will also come up once you are milestones. You get some milestones, and you get in terms of the followers or the engagement and all, shares and all. So yeah, it's a step by step process. Great. We'll move to our next question, that will go to Prakriti. So this is, now we've talked about basically the cases where we are pulling in the customers basically for our courses and all. Here it is that it's a little bit pushing out. So we are approaching them. There is a kind of an outreach campaign that is happening. So I would go to Prakriti, that she can explain a bit more detail what kind of outreach approach that you have. Sorry, I mixed the two. It is outreach approach that you can have. Basically, outreach approach means that the direct emailing and the messaging on this through the social media profiles. How should they go about this as an online coach?
Yeah, so I think again, starting from the very word of outreach, it does say that you're going out and reaching to your audience. And right now we are in a space where the audience is just everywhere. And especially when we speak about edtech, I think I always thought that it's always easier to catch people or catch the attention when you say something online. But what do you do when everybody is online and there is no distinguishing factor? Because online presence and a very strong online presence earlier, of course, I think I would always look at things before the pandemic and after the pandemic. I think what pandemic has done is to, it's taken us so much far in terms of the advancement in tech, especially something as good as education, where we thought that um, you have to go to a school, you have to, school was a building. And of course, there's a lot of emphasis on the kind of relationships that you build in school, and the kind of learning that happens. But well, thanks to something that came up 2 years back, and there we are, there are the students learning online for 2 years. And we've done it, and we've managed to do it beautifully, I think, of course, with a little bit of hiccups. And every industry faced that. So I think the transition of and the meaning of outreach kind of also changed with time. Because earlier outreach, with my example of working with not for profits, we did a lot of outreach, where you kind of spreading awareness, telling people about the kind of work that you do. And now, at a place where everybody is consuming content, and Google is just a click away, really. Even the smaller kids, I mean, you ask them and they're just at the tap of their phone and they're just looking at things. Then why is education important? And what role does edtech play here? Why haven't teachers important for that matter? So I think outreach in terms of marketing, especially with respect to edtech, can be done and is being done in a lot of ways, where you are forming that relationship with your audience. I think more than telling them and targeting them to spread a message or to communicate a certain kind of a message, that relationship is very important. And especially with respect to education industry, I think there are more than one stakeholder which are involved. So there's something called as a, a buyer journey mapping, wherein you kind of are not just selling something to them or selling an idea for that matter. You're taking that time to understand them, and that's where we also started from. What is the messaging and understanding your audience? You are weighing them on their awareness level, because we can speak and of course we can communicate, but where is your target audience? Are they even interested? Where are they on the awareness level? If it is, at a point where they're kind of interested, then of course your messaging is going to be very different. You're persuading them. Once you've got them from point A to B, then you're telling that this is what we stand for. You make that connect, you form that relationship. And of course, from B to C, when you're moving to that point, that is when you're telling them that here is a problem that we're solving. I think it's very important, for marketers to also understand that, uh, or a product or a service, uh, to kind of provide a solution to a problem. Because what happens if you are not doing that? Then what is the point of the consumer being there, or what? How is it even relevant? So I think outreach in that way can be done in different ways, can be done in different forms. There was a lot of press on physical outreach earlier, and now all of this is shifted to online. And I think off late, the kind of and the number of webinars and conferences that I've seen, I don't think I've ever attended or have been a part of it, or for that matter, even seen so many of them. So that is also outreach. There are festivals which are happening online. There are music festivals happening online. EdTech industries, schools are conducting their sports days are happening online. So that's it's very interesting to also see everybody taking that effort to put their best foot forward, and outreach really going, to that step where we really are going out. Firstly, your audience gets divided in two parts. The first is the existing ones, and then comes the potential audience. So I think outreach is changed in a lot of ways. There's a lot of focus on the messaging. There's a lot of focus on the psyche and the consumer behavior as such, or the mind of the consumer as such. That's come into play.
That's right.
And then we have different mediums.
That's right. I think We are beyond that time where you can have an outright sales outreach, because it's kind of will irritate the customer. It's somewhere say you have segmented your audience, you've created a very specific content for that audience. Then outreach would serve the purpose that where organically you cannot, the customer is not coming and or the prospect is not coming and seeing you on your social media platform. So then you put that in your email campaign, or you put it in your messaging campaign on social media, so that's still personal to some extent, right? It's not like generic or it's salesy. So you're just saying, okay, I've created this content for you specifically, maybe in that segment that person is in, and then kind of put it. So I think the definition of, even push based campaigns are changing, where because you can really with so much competition and so amount of media that they are subjected to from all angles, notifications and whatever, you cannot be salesy in any way. So that is where I think it'll outreach also is where it's through content only, where something he will like to read, where you're not just talking about yourself, it is about him to educate, as I said, na, entertain the viewer basically, so that he comes and end of the day then would be part of the want to be part of what you're offering. Great. So we'll come to the next one, which is about the branding that they have to do as an online coach. Because if you have a strong personal brand, that enables you to get inbound leads, basically, which is, I mean, any person in any industry or any business, you would always want a plethora of inbound leads, because getting outbound is it's quite difficult. So if you get inquiries directly only through all your activities, brand building, that is the preferred position they want to be in. So I'll go to Pragya so that she can give us, for coaches itself, like what are the branding tips for themselves.
Well, it's an interesting question because it involves quite a lot of things. So specifically, what I would say that when you are an online coach, so it directly means that people are expecting you to be there online, right? I mean, when you are providing classes, for example, online, so people need to know that you are someone doing a particular thing, right? So you got to know which particular platform you want to choose and how you want to use that, right? So, for example, you feel that two, three platforms are there, or maybe two platforms are there, maybe Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn or Twitter, right? Then once you have identified that, so what you have to do is to be in sync of that particular platform. So if, for example, you are feeling that maybe in a month you will be you will be providing a seminar, or maybe you are launching your course, right? So do not start it from the very first day. Like, for example, you are going to launch it 2 days from now, and you are starting it now, today. So what you have to do is to start it as early as possible and build your audience. And building an audience is just like nurturing a plant. So you need to understand and provide it exactly what it requires to sustain and get a required growth. So it's about how much time you can provide, understanding that, and being consistent. So when I say consistent, it is not about being there every day, whenever, like, 24/7. It's about you provide it a time frame that, okay, this is what I have for online platforms, and then follow that consistently. So for example, if you feel that I can provide my 4 days in a week, so go for them those days consistently, and then divide your time accordingly. So for example, what you can do is to maybe you have 6 hours in a week, or maybe 3 hours in a week, then you will divide it accordingly to one part of it to connect with people, one part of it to create content, one part of it is to curate and strategize your content, and the other part is to build your community, right? And once people will start to know, and again, it should not only be focused to the target audience, but it should also about those who are in your industry, because you got to know that where your target audience is hanging out, and you need to hang out there as well, right? So plus one is find out where your exactly target audience is and how you can connect with them. Secondly, find out where they are hanging out, and then you also go there and hang out. Third, be consistent, because you just do not do the you just do it for maybe 1 month in consistently, and then forget about it. Because if I talk about social media, you forget it today and it will forget it even earlier than that, right? So there again should be a consistent nature, like okay, once you are there, so make sure that you are there to put your efforts in a consistent way, right? And once it all these things have been settled, then provide a taste, like this is how your particular product or service would look like, and provide what they'll get out of it. Okay, for example, you can provide examples, or maybe earlier testimonials that so and so took your course and got so and so results, right? And that is how they'll get to know. Or in fact, you can you can provide them, you can add them with FOMO, that this is what they'll miss out if they will not, like it's our famous tactic, right? That we always provide them, like okay, this is what, and in fact it should be like that. Because if they do not feel any kind of FOMO because of missing out your product or service, then I do not believe it is even good to be there, right? So once you have done all these things, then you can understand, then you can go ahead and put out your product or service and launch it out. Because
Sure.
before anything, they need to know who you are, and then only they'll come to your product, and then only they'll come to buy from you. So once that credibility is there, once that awareness is there, once that funnel is built, then only they'll shift to later stages of the funnel. Yeah.
That's right. So, in this, I wanted to ask Prakriti, where as a personal brand building, like when you are very specific, that you specialize for like reels. I am a reels expert, so I can show you how to design. When it's, do you think they should, and it can only be that, like you are talking about you're creating content, so you identify not only one, maybe three things which you are really strong in, which you can impart that knowledge. So this can be like a brand building effort. Do you think this strategy works more than a general marketing expert in a particular industry, where you're getting really specific to the execution of what will exactly help for a certain skill, and then I'm an expert in building that skill?
Yeah, definitely, Nikhil. I think, and I loved what Pragya said about, building your brand or communicating to your audience is as good as nurturing a plant, because it is a lot of hard work. It
Hmm.
is a lot of care that needs to go in. So I think brand building or personal brand building, we're all doing in one way or the other. It's just that who does it consciously and who does it unconsciously. Uh, uh, so, when we realize the potential of building a personal brand in the very first place, why do we need to do something like this? I think marketing as a field, people do understand why it's important, because you're doing it for the others all the time and you understand the importance. But I think, irrespective of the field, I have seen people, especially LinkedIn as a platform where people are talking about reading. They're talking about books. People are talking about their personal experiences. People are talking about their political views. So consciously, unconsciously, at some
Mm.
stages, I feel that, firstly, the intent is to keep creating content, be consistently there on a platform where you're sharing your views, so that the more you getting up in terms of creating and generating content. Of course, the second, third, fourth degrees are kind of working. The whole algorithm works out, and then that's where you're being consistent and being there on the platform, which is also just not
So
enough,
you're,
because
you're saying
again,
also that it doesn't only have to be about your domain. They should even more understand you as a person. Also, there should be certain content which you are reflecting about your views on certain thing which is outside your domain also.
yes, I think, Nikhil, it's about the connections we make all the time. Why do
Hmm.
we look up to some people? Why do we have role models? Or I mean, a Shah Rukh Khan coming and saying that, what, I use Coke as my drink. You will see like hundreds of people and fans just drinking up the
Yeah.
drink, even if
Yeah,
you
अभी
don't
वो
relate to
Pepsi
it.
हो गया. Oh yeah.
So it is. I mean, I've indulged in a behavior
Hmm.
like this. I look up to somebody, and I see Katrina Kaif associated with Nika, and then at least I'll go and explore that brand, and I will see that, and I think that's where the whole
Hmm.
consciousness of what do the celebrities stand for, what kind of brands they're promoting, what kind of brands they're associated with now, even more than ever, is kind of
That's
got
it.
into them, and they are very careful in what they choose, because the younger generation is looking at you, people are looking at you. So I think people are interested in your story, people are interested in your journey, they want to know the kind of person you are, because I also think social media and digital platforms has enabled people to mask themselves, which is good and both bad. Good, beautiful, because it's a platform where you engage, where you communicate. If you're an introvert, if you're an extrovert, doesn't matter, but you're able to be there and express yourself comfortably. But I think there's always a backtrack to it, where we feel the other person's life is just beautiful on Instagram, for example, but
Hmm.
you just don't know. So I think the easier connections are
Hmm.
made, and the real the stories are, and the more personal it is, I think the whole effort will be there, I think, but the 80% will might just become, say, 40 for 50%, because you're being yourself.
That's great. Yeah, one. There's a correction that we both got it wrong. He's now currently with Thumbs Up. I think Shahrukh. You mentioned Coke, then I said Pepsi. So
No, no, I think
yeah,
it was just an example. I think he was
yeah.
associated
So
with.
it is like because there was
Yeah.
also one article I read where the like Salman and Shahrukh like they were endorsing one drink earlier, then now they're endorsing something else. So that was very this thing. Like obviously it depends, not dynamics at that time.
Yes, yes, true.
Great. Yes, but definitely your view on that. It's they. I think somewhere they want to know the person, but it shouldn't be like Instagram. There's a lot of you can say bragging also, like you've been here or you bought this, and also it has to be if the person people don't want to know about your bank balance and all that. It would be most would be taken in a negative way only. It would be more like your experiences, like what you've learned from something and more authentic, I mean real kind of things what people might care about, like what they can learn from basically. So yeah, that can also come across. Awesome.
Yeah. In fact,
Great.
I would also like to add that this is where your personal branding uh, is different, gets differentiated than your company's brand, right? Because when it is about person, so people want to know who is that particular person and how this person is different than a particular logo, right? So that's where if we go, so Elon Musk has got more followers than his company, right? Because people want to and love to hear your part of story, who you are, and how you have done what you have done, right?
Hmm.
And because that is
And
where they
actually his personal brand is so strong that I think Tesla is not marketed anything. It's just through his personal brand that they get the maximum reach.
right, and this is consistent in throughout all different brands, right? That people than the companies, right? For example, if I talk about Tata, right? So we all know that who is the person behind that, and we all love him, right? So it's always about that people want to know. So that's why, in fact, I would quote LinkedIn here as well. That would like to take example of LinkedIn, that every time you will see that there are less followers for companies, and in fact people are not engaging much with companies post, because somewhere they have this conscious thoughts that the company, whenever they'll create any content, it would be somehow related with the product or service that they are providing to the ultimate customer, right? And when it is about an individual, they know that they might end up learning more things. And in fact, that is why if you are inducing your story, if you're inducing your backstory, that how you did, and what was like, what's your learning, and where you failed, how you succeeded, right? So people want to know that, and people love to read that, right? So yeah, I do agree with that, that it is always about, and in fact you have how to build that thought leadership. So people would always love to look to you, that what is it and how and what about a particular topic or maybe product or service, right? So yeah.
That's right. Great. So we'll take some examples of the marketing campaigns, because a lot of, like I had said in my introduction, the companies that are named are all unicorns. So unicorn, obviously, with a $1 billion valuation, then with all that funding, the money, they are in mainstream media. Like I think An Academy was the co-sponsor of the last IPL also. So that is the amount of reach that they have. So obviously in the mainstream audience also, they know about these companies, and also we can talk about things what they are doing right, or how they design the campaigns and all. So I'll go to Prakriti for her opinion on the campaigns that have been done by these tech companies, these major behemoth, these tech companies that are there, EdTech companies.
Yeah, I think what I feel different, Nikhil, is that with respect to education, it is something very personal in nature itself. Because what happens when we are talking about education, we are not just speaking with the consumers of it, which are the students. We're also speaking to the decision makers, which are the parents. So I think the way edtech has grown, and of course you did name a few, like Byju's, and there's an academy. There's also Khan Academy, which was, which existed for a very long period of time, and of course there's Toppler and Extra Marks. So I think the connect to the audience is something that they strive for, and very powerful storytelling in the marketing campaigns that have seen and I've personally observed. I am not a direct consumer, but I'm still drawn to the ad. Because they play on this area of emotion. If you're able to invoke that kind of an emotion, where through a very strong marketing, it could be an ad, it could be a very short trailer, it could also just be a post with nothing in it. I think that is the kind of marketing campaigns which have led these organizations and companies to reach where they are right now. And edtech, of course, we do see, because the emphasis is always on education, the emphasis is always on learning. Then the emphasis is always on how are we solving that problem. And I think then, of course, if at all there's a need of them communicating that why are we better than the other, I think that doesn't really happen in the edtech industry. It does happen in automobiles. I do remember there was a war going on between BMW and Jaguar, and how they had this entire campaign around it. But I think with edtech, the space itself is so personalized that the marketing campaigns are, like I said, they're telling a story. And it's definitely not selling. It's that you hit where it hits the most, which is the heart. You're hitting them right there. You're making that kind of a noise, you're making that impact. So, and I vividly remember because there was a campaign from Extra Marks sometime back where, they communicated the idea and the whole tension behind an exam that the parents feel when the students are going for their board exams. This was much before the pandemic, of course, which came up with the hashtag Funda Clear Hair. So, and these are the kind of the role that marketing plays, and the kind of pressure points that they're trying to communicate. I think that is where these campaigns come out very strongly. And to my surprise, I always thought that when you have a product, it's always easier to communicate it through a campaign because it's solving a problem. Now, how do you communicate something like an education or a service or a cause? You can't buy it. It's not giving you that thing of, okay, I have a tangible asset. It's nourishment, it's the learning, it's the journey that you take with them. So I think a lot of emphasis is on the journey, a lot of emphasis is on the nurturing part of it. And how do you take that whole journey with
Idea
that?
based, like it's on an idea, it's not on the feature and the pricing and all.
Right. Right. I mean, honestly, Byju's existed even before the pandemic, for example. And of course, the students and the parents were availing it. But what changed? And what has led them to come on the jerseys of the Indian cricket team? So, the understanding of this space, the understanding of the audience, and doing the right thing at the right time, I think is also very important. Because, of course, there's going to be competition in any field, any product, any service for that matter. But then I think the connection that you make, the emotions that you evoke, is where marketing has to. I mean, the mind is in the right place definitely, but I think it has a lot of emotions and heart to it, and that's what makes a lot of campaigns successful.
That's right. uh, Thanks for your inputs, Prakriti. So we'll go to our next question that we'll cover is for online coaches, uh, what kind of way they can collaborate and partner with other coaches, so here we'll cover, in terms of working together, reaching out to people in a similar domain, how you can kind of help out each other. So I'll go to Pragya if she can give her inputs on the same.
Sure. So collaborations, in fact, if done right, can help you very productively. So I would say when it is about collaborations and partnerships, so first everyone looks for whether it is my competitor or what, right? And there could be two three things about it. One is you create a community. For example, there are 5 6 people, and they are, instead of competing, building a bridge, right? Building a community that there they will know that, okay, this is where I need to come to get this kind of services, right? Just like we know that, okay, whenever I will go to get burger, I know that there only, in that corner only, I will find 2 3 stores, right, including MACD or Burger King and all, right? So it's just like that, that you can create a community that there people would know that, okay, for this kind of service I need to go there, right? Secondly, you collaborate with someone who is who is doing same kind of work. For example, they are providing coaching, but in a very different field, right? So for example, you are connected with someone. I will provide a, for example, you are in edtech industry. I will provide a product example. So you are someone who is into schools, and then there is someone who is creating study materials, right? Or maybe these things, right? So you get together and collaborate. So you will know that this is where I can connect with people, with students, and they will know, okay, this is where I can put this person, these students there, and maybe get a percentage out of it, right? Or in fact, then there are other things. For example, you are someone, you know that you are into sports, and you create bats, and then particular person, different person, create balls, right? So you reroute that your customers to that person, and those people would reroute to you, right? Okay, that if you have bought bat, then you might need balls as well. So now you can go there, right? So for example, for everything you see around, right? So this is how you can get connected with other people, right? So maybe if you are someone who is into LinkedIn, right? So for example, I am someone who is providing LinkedIn services. Then I might connect with business who needs more services into other field, right? For example, maybe in someone who can work for Instagram for the or to them, like for them, okay. Then I will say, okay, I will be helping you for LinkedIn, and then this is particular person I have collaborated with, and you can go for Instagram services. And I know that this particular person I can vouch on, like her or him, right? So this is how you can collaborate, and this is how you can enhance your business without wasting and without making it messy. So these are a couple of things that can be done, and in fact, more things can be done. Just for example, you get connected with people and then provide you. Okay, this is where I will be providing you a particular percentage if you will reroute someone to me, and then maybe if not about friendship, then they can come for that particular percentage, right? So there are various ways that can be used when it is about collaborations and partnerships. And in fact, long term partnerships can be formed out of not because of money, but because of the help that you're getting, and maybe because of the community that you're building, that people can trust, and they will know, okay, if that person is saying about some good words about this, then obviously this must be true, right?
So,
So this is how it can be done, right?
sure. So I would like to go to Prakriti for, say, like as an online coach, what you should look at another online coach specifically. Let's look at more in terms of their not only what they're providing, but also personality wise, whether they can work together. What are the points basically, even professionally, personally, where you can look at that you can work with that person and something, because maybe it could be that both on their own could not do that much, but if they come together, it can they can really take their services to the next level, like reach out to more of an audience or create better content or have some kind of a course only design which they have done it together or something. So what do you think they should kind of look at when they want to associate with other online coaches?
Yeah, I think I always feel that it's when like-minded people come together, magic happens. So I think, and there are enough platforms, to be honest. I mean, not just in terms of coaching, but I personally did. I'm trying to explore a platform called as Coffee Mug, which basically is a platform where you can connect with like-minded people, and it's you can just talk to them, you can just explore what the other person is doing. It could be for a mentorship, it could be regarding a product maybe that you have in mind and you want to know what is going on in the industry. So you can connect with different kinds of people, you can connect with the founder, you can connect with somebody who's heading the marketing department. So I think that always helps. And there are tools for collaboration and partnerships where I think it starts with a conversation, and then it's up to you where the conversation leads you to. So I think it's about that exploration. And also with online coaching or mentoring, I strongly feel that as much as it is a very personalized space, it's also something that you have to always keep up with. You're constantly learning, you're constantly talking to people, you're constantly looking at what other people are doing in the same space. So I think there are enough tools available. I think there are enough channels for all of us to explore that kind of aspect. And uh, and then uh, and it's a beautiful way to also just, I think, collaborate, because teamwork is something that comes into play. Imagine people who don't know each other are just kind of, thanks to online connection these days, that you're just sitting and you get to know what's happening in the other part of the world or the country for that matter. So I think coaching is done in a very different way, and like Pragya has been emphasizing on um, how personalized it can be. So I think imagine two, three different types of trainings and online coaching come together can just create a whole different curriculum or a program itself.
That's right. I feel on in terms of the platforms that can be used, those which are more profile based, like person is putting out content, those should be preferred more than which are requirement based, like there's a posting, because there it could be, you don't know what you're getting into, what kind of people are there on that, because where if it's a profile based content, you'll get to understand more about that person as well as this. So that is, I feel, better than a posting site where you are looking at something very specific. So there can be like certain frauds and all on those kind of platforms. So here it's because they know what they are getting into, like what is the audience, who is coming on those platforms, what are they looking for. So here it's more open, it's through content you are reaching out, whatever they're putting, say on your LinkedIn, Instagram, and also here there is more scope, I feel, definitely. And I think going forward, if you can identify someone through, and you can hit it off in terms of where your audience can be kind of, I would feel there is an add-on, like it both combined your efforts is reaching out to a larger audience, or even if you are brainstorming, you are getting more ideas. So that is definitely an indicator of a good match there. Great. So awesome. I think we've done all the primary questions and all. We'll just quickly go to the Q&A one by one. Just in, if you all can answer in points only, if you like that you have, or tips or something like that, that'd be great. We can quickly then get go with this part of it. Awesome. So we'll go to the first one. So since you are a LinkedIn expert here, the Pragya, so how do you optimize yourself here as a domain expert? Just a few tips on that.
Okay, so I think I have summarized it a bit earlier. So I would simply go as first, obviously know why you are there in the on that particular platform. So if you know that, then you can easily provide a map to yourself, right? Okay, this is how, and this is where I will do the things, right? So once you will know, then it would be easy for you to understand the words that are necessary for you to be to be there, right? So for example, in my case, I'm LinkedIn consultant, right? So I need to know what are the keywords that people look for when they look for someone who when they look for services that I am providing, right? So for example, I know that maybe people are looking for LinkedIn strategist, LinkedIn marketer, LinkedIn consultant, or LinkedIn marketer, right? So what I'll do is to use those keywords to implement that to put them into my profile, right? So what I do call is optimizing my profile using all the sections that LinkedIn have provided me accordingly. So first, I know, okay, this is my domain,
But
and
in this, we'll get into some specifics also, so that that is also certain doubts that the audience would want to clarify with the LinkedIn profile. One, what can help, and also first is do recommendations. How useful is there in that? Because some it's for the sake of it. Also, people put it like, how much does that help?
see, it adds credibility. So, for example, if Elon Musk is saying something, then you will know that, okay, this is a credible source, right? If it will come, like, it is about credibility, building credibility. So, for example, you are known in a particular field, and it will come from you that, okay, this person is saying something about me, right? So, for example, I have provided services to some 10 people, and out of 7 people are talking good about me, right? About my services, or maybe 8 people. And they have written that, okay, I got her services, and this is what I got. And it's not coming from my friends. It's not coming from, obviously, your friends can also give you recommendation. But the point is, it is not only coming from you, them, those who are like there, like who already know you, right? So it should come from those who are availing your services, who actually are your target audience, who have taken your services and they have felt that, okay, whatever you have provided is of value, right? And then there is, and in fact, I will tell you why recommendation. One more example is that whenever you go for a particular restaurant, you firstly go on Google, and then you check that how many stars that particular restaurants have got, that hotel have got, right? What people are talking about. And
Hmm.
in fact, hotel could be a big thing. I also check for particular dresses. Okay, for example, I'm going for online shopping and I'm buying something. So even for something as simple as maybe a dress of 1,000 2,000, I will go and check what people are talking about. Is this particular cloth is even good or bad, right? So
That's
it
right.
does matter if it is
Yes.
coming from those who have
In this,
taken
I
your
think there are two aspects which can people can take care. One is that if it's from a person in terms of like where you're not that matlab, in that domain that popular, then it has to be very specific, something they are praising about your services, something very thoughtful, right? That is one. And second, obviously the name of the person behind it, if he's even giving a general shout out kind of recommendation also, that would work, even and not necessarily to have worked with that person, but it's like a maybe you collaborated or you know the person or something, because end of the day they're just reading that and coming. So that person's, I mean, also in terms of their popularity or where they are in that domain, that also
Yeah,
matters.
you see, my name is also coming into the picture if I'm providing recommendation to someone.
Yes,
So
yes.
I would not like to make it just because someone wants it, right?
Mm,
So I would like it that this particular person should earn it, right?
mm,
So that's why even I, or in fact, no one, right, would say it just because they want to, second person wants it, right?
mm.
So that's why it provides you a reason that this has been earned and it's not
That's
taken,
it.
right? So yeah.
But do you think also they'll get like traffic you get from that person? So when you have recommended a lot of people, you get traffic from that person.
Yes, to an extent, yes, because if that person is known in that domain, right? So they will see that, okay, because this person is doing good. So, for example, if I have provided services maybe to a particular business, maybe social media strategy, right? And that particular company is doing good, like nice job in the industry. So people would be willing to know that who is the person behind this, right? And they will automatically come to you that, okay, because you did services, you provided services, your services, and they are doing quite good. So I would love to come to you as well, to you for this to, like,
That's right.
to get
The
that
rest
services.
of the things, I would say that obviously you have the featured section, which should be, in terms of the order of priority, where you can put where you want to highlight certain things regarding certain things that you have achievements, as well as something that you're offering as well. That should be a combination of that. You have can utilize like visual evidence links and all that, maybe of the work you've done. That would be very helpful, and obviously well constructed profile and description also, more about yourself or than just what your business, and also that also creates a more personalized touch. So I feel all these things along with the content creation. So a lot of stuff to do on LinkedIn. Obviously, this is the one is the profile part, and then the content as for. Also, I think creator mode, if it's on, if you want to be discovered, it's better to create, and you're very regular on LinkedIn, then it's better to have the creator mode on, and this thing that people will first priority then follow you, then the connections and all.
Yeah, so your follow button comes up over connection. So this is what comes, and second is like you get chance to add relevant keywords and services and all. So see, there is not much difference, but yes, it does provide you an option that you are someone who is like who can be followed and other things. So I would say in terms of results, I have experimented a bit and it has helped me to boost a bit more my engagement. but it could be different from for different people, right, according to your consistency and how old or new you are, and followers and all.
That's right. Great. So the next question for Prakriti, with the live lectures or the course where it's live, it's not pre-recorded. How can it be made more personalized? Just the experience. How can it be made better for people who are conducting live lectures?
I
This
think
was Prakriti.
the more real you make it, yeah, I think the more real you make it, the better you're able to reach out to people. So I think definitely personalization is very, very important. And the way you could experiment and the way you can go behind it is, trying to make something which is more relevant to people, uh, getting into topical structures. I think that is also extremely important. So sorry, I
That's
think I
right.
lost you guys for a minute, but yeah. So what's trending, what connects with the audience? So those are certain ways in which the live lectures that can be made personalized. I think giving that space to for people to know you, what you do in your space, and of course that's where we've been speaking about the personal brand building. So I think once you've established that, the live lectures, the more personal, the more shorter, the more crisper, the more to the point it is, the better. Because gone are those days where people would like to be there for for a long period of time. So I think the more to the point, the more crisper you are able to talk, the more personalized it is. It works well. And I think by personalization, I don't mean to get in depth and try to understand each person or each audience that you're communicating to, but just to understand the pulse of uh, uh, what is the need and why are they coming to you. I think that's important. Something as good as a Netflix. You go to Netflix and they have this beautiful user experience where they give you that option to choose the kind of genres and what's trending, to choose. I think the freedom and the ability to make that decision, if you give it to your audience and if you have the bandwidth to do it when you're designing it, I think nothing like it, where you give them the options, where you've created topical stuff which is trending, and find creative ways to do it. Uh, do it outside or outdoors for a change some days under a tree, maybe. So these are little things that can just little tweaks that can just work for live lectures to be made more personalized and create that connect.
That's right. Yeah, I feel the live lectures, you have to have like a major part for the Q&A section, because you have to understand that if you don't have that, then it becomes like a pre-recorded thing, like watching a video. So you have to have a major where I've observed people ask very specific questions also as per their own business problems or whatever. So you have to give that time. If you cannot disclose everything, it then becomes like a consultancy. Then at least you have to answer in a way that he knows that like you're going in the right direction or something. So that indication has to be given by you. So, and also I've observed that the really good coaches which are there, which maybe they firstly in personalized, they'll not have that many. They'll have a restriction of the amount of people who are joining. And after the Q&A also they leave it. Like whoever wants to leave, then we'll have a more of a, yeah, general interaction also about what problems you're facing and whatever, or they want to discuss, talk about something. They have that after our session also in that. So it that is also so that, that actually makes more of a impact, because at the end of the day it's just education. You can't like it's not out and out you are consulting, or it's like, so you have to, they have to get that idea of your, you have a great personality and go to get to connect with you and then maybe work with you also.
Right.
Awesome. So next one we'll go is communication. Basically, for after the session, what kind of communication person has attended your workshop, seminar, or whatever. What kind of communication can you have? End of the day, in terms of business, obviously that will result in upselling, cross selling. But how should the communication be designed? So I'll go to Prakriti for the same.
Yeah, I think important because feedback is a very important and a very strong tool. I feel that once we establish, we're talking about establishing and creating that relationship. Now that also has to be taken forward, because you just can't leave it right there and say, okay, fine, abhi to ho gaya, you go your way and I go my way, which is also a way to do it. But then, if you're looking at long term relationship building, if you're looking at long term brand creation, if you're looking at retention of your audience and consumers, so a post session or a post campaign follow up is always important, and email marketing to some extent does play a very important role here, because once you've tried to create that connection, and it's just a follow up, or sometimes it just works like an update that, hey, you know what, we're doing this, catch up with it. And a lot of times it does land up in the spam.
And
But
today
I
with the
think
WhatsApp API features, a lot of things can be done on after a session, even if it's automated. You have a communication that your feedback, or you want to tell something about it, or the session, or anything else, any other doubts, or you can have a one-on-one meeting or whatever. That all can be communicated in the WhatsApp also.
WhatsApp, true. And I think, Nikhil, the food industry does it really well, because if I'm sure you must have noticed that the minute you order something from Swiggy or a Zomato, the minute it's in your hands, there's right there's an option that opens up saying that, rate the food or rate the delivery. So that is feedback. And I always used to wonder, what do they do with it, because a lot of times you just want to skip it. But
Hmm.
surprisingly, a lot of people do give the feedback. So that intention of at least stretching the hand and saying that, give a feedback, now it's up to you to give it or not. But the whole
Hmm.
intention behind taking the feedback, and then what are you doing with the feedback? And I mean, Zomato and Swiggy, my god, there's Valentine's Day and there are emails with beautiful taglines and the subject lines popping in saying that, longing for the love of bread, longing for the love of pizza. That's where it's very smartly used. The feedback, the relationship building, the follow-up emails, after you've consumed a service or a session, or you engage in, say, a workshop or a webinar. So I think it is very important. There are different tools to do it. And it plays a very important role in communicating it to your audience that we are interested in building a long relationship.
That's right.
So we are here
Yes.
for long.
So Pragya, also, if I could quickly get few your views on the same.
Yeah, same. I definitely like going with Prakriti on this. Like, it is about knowing your customer in like, what is it that they like the most about your service, and what is it that they would like to change. I would like to give an example that whenever I do order online, like anything, especially I would like to take example of Mintra. Okay, so this delivery boy would come and say, "Ma'am, wo feedback dal dena zarur," right? And he would
Hmm.
sometimes, like for 3 4 times initially, he asked me that, can you just simply give me your phone with that link that you just have got. And he would click it and would ask me, would you like to go with I am happy with this. So I would say yes, and he would do that, right? So, and then now I simply go, okay, I will do that, okay, I will do that. You do not have to like ask for it every time. So the point is, they do go for it, and they do use it, and that's why I got to know about it. Okay, that's why. And in fact, it's everywhere. You use Uber, you use Ola, you use anything, and feedback would be there, right? And they do closely monitor it. And in fact, it's everywhere nowadays. I recently went for Lenskart, and they also had this. And I got quickly, like, that this is okay, this is where you did not like it, and we will work on it. So I was like, wow. So it's about building relationship. I felt important. Okay, like, even though I am 0000 point, like, I provided that particular part of business, but still I am considered as an important part of their service, right? So their business, right? So that's how you make them feel important. You make them that we care for you, and you do matter for us, right? So it's important to not only make it better, but also keep them intact with you only. because there is no deficiency of service providers nowadays, right? So you have to have make a difference, not with only your particular product that you are providing or service,
Hmm.
but also what they feel and how
That's
they
right.
feel about you,
And today's
right?
like the acquisition cost of a customer is so much. So definitely, if
Yes,
you there are few efforts that go in retaining, because then you want the lifetime value to increase, right? Of the so with
yes,
these
yes, yes.
efforts, definitely that is what you are looking into. Awesome, great. So go to the next one. So in performance marketing for these online courses, any kind of tips? So I'll go to Prakriti for the same.
I think optimization, advertising, especially with Google and Instagram, it's also uh, targeting, which is very specific. Google ads and Instagram ads. I think a lot of it is based on data. A lot of it is based on what the consumer is doing. A lot of times, I think sometimes I really feel that I'm thinking of something and it's out there on Instagram, and I don't know how is it there. Possibly because of my search result. So I
Yes,
think with the online courses, a lot of times if I'm looking for something, if I'm interested in exploring a course, for example, and it did happen with me, to be very honest, I wanted to take up a short-term course with consumer behavior and understand the insights of how consumer behaviorism works. And I had, like, the next day I had ads everywhere, which were really telling me that this is the best thing that we can offer you and this is what you need. So I think SEO and optimization is extremely important because it's a very specific kind of a targeting, and it's a very calculative kind of a targeting wherein you're placing your ads, you're paying for that space to be there, and be there at the right place at the right time, because you know that your customer is going to be there, or your consumer is exploring Instagram late at night at 10 o'clock, and it's a
Hmm.
leisure scroll. So do you want to be there as an online
Hmm.
course? Maybe not. You want to be there on Google ads at maybe 9 a.m. or
That's
an
right.
8 a.m. on Monday. So I think that's the magic of how this
There's
placing and
also one interesting thing, like obviously when we search on Google, is some interest, something that we are specifically searching for. But if you all noticed on Instagram also, now they are suggesting to search things, right? On Instagram, not just like blindly just go through the Explorer and the Reel section and all that. So do you think now people, because of the searches they're encouraging, so that directly an ad would also come up along with content for in the Instagram searches?
it does come in. I think I mean, for example, if you're searching for vacations, for example,
Hmm.
in no time you'll actually see all the content that's related come into you in terms of ads, or the way the content is created itself, because it works with the
But
hashtag, with
is
the
that like an
SEO.
advertisement that is also coming along within the when you're scrolling the content?
I think it definitely, Instagram I've not noticed much, but definitely this is something that I've noticed with the news apps. I use
Hmm.
something which is called in shorts, and once you're scrolling and you're kind of just flipping from left to right, you do see the advertisements there. You do
Hmm.
see an apparel ad, you do see Adidas and Nike there, and it's just an ad that you can definitely skip, but it's there, it's right there. And I think something similar, I mean, YouTube is a perfect example where you can't skip the ad and it's right there, and you have to see the ad. So I think and it does make an impact at point. I do think that if you're doing it at the right place at the right time, like I said before, you're just nudging your consumer a little bit, that what, we've nudged you. So it works well with Amazon. I mean, you're buying something, say, I mean, I was buying plants one day, and I saw everything related to plants. I saw pots, I saw the whole sack there, and I saw seeds there. So it's not just the item, but also something that is related, or a substitute, or a complementary item. Ferns and petals, you go there, buy a cake, there's this whole flower and the card and all the personalized stuff that comes there. So that's also, I mean, they're just nudging and telling you that maybe you might just need this, and maybe the consumer might just land up buying it. So yeah.
That's right. Awesome. So we'll go to our next particular question. Is this I think Pragya can answer this, is it can get kind of overwhelming as a online coach. To You have to keep upgrading your knowledge, add to what courses you are offering, then marketing yourself, then also, so like today you have stories for every platform, then you have to create that, craft that, then outreach campaigns and all that. And so it can get, so how do you think, like, even personally, like, how do you have used technology? You can give certain tips or certain tools, like how the way you use technology, and which kind of tools are you using specifically?
Okay, so organizing your day and in fact your everything is very important. So how I started is to not clash meetings, right? Because it is damn important. So how I started, I was like, okay, I just cannot do it that because I need something. So that is where I started everything, like to research things, right? So I started with Google Calendar. I do use it every time, and in fact, many people do use that. And then second is I do use Calendly to schedule my meetings, and then there is that more apps like I would say you can schedule your content, right? So I personally I do not do that for myself. However, I can suggest it for those people who feel that they would end up forgetting about their post, right? Posting it. So and then again, scheduling would come only after you have created content, right? So for content creation, you can go for various tools or maybe for keyword research and all. And then once you have created like a roadmap about it for it, then you can go for. And in fact, there is one tool called Answer the Public and tools like that. I use them to know what is it that people are talking about. In fact, Google search for that matter as well. And once I do know that this is the talk of the town or maybe this is what people are looking for in my domain, then I provide myself a content calendar. And then once you know that okay, this is where I can, then I do use Google Docs and in fact whole this there is one tool I am forgetting about. I do use that to organize my content. I'm sorry about that. So then I use that as well. And then in fact there are many tools that can be used. So if I do organize all these things, so one is about your meetings. You should not like forget about it, so that's why Google Calendar is there. And then second thing is to organize your content. So why people, there is a reason why people often end up not creating content, because they just end up feeling overwhelmed when the time comes, right? Okay, that they feel like okay, from maybe that particular day I will start creating content, and then they suddenly realize okay, what I will create, right? So that's why maybe you can create it in a bulk, right? So to organize that, you can use different tools. And once it is done, so maybe you can use scheduler for that. And when it is about creating your different graphics, so if you're someone who wants to do it by yourself,
Yes,
then
yes.
maybe you can use Calendly. Oh, sorry,
Here,
this one.
I would say that in terms of planning, like, you have to divide yourself into various heads. Like, I'm doing marketing of myself, I'm doing
Yeah,
my
you do
course
wear
building, I'm
various
doing my
hats.
meetings and all. Because um, if not, then everything is like just everywhere. Like, what the heading of the category of the task, basically. So it has to be like a complete, like a framework you require. Because when you're doing that many amount of activities, it's like you're running your own activities like a company. There are different departments ahead, so you have to, it will take time, definitely. And there's certain level of intelligence also comes in it, how you can manage multiple things. So you have to prioritize and then keep them in headings and then do so. You have to, like, make it compulsory for us that I have to create a certain content piece in a day. It could be however bad it's coming out, you have to just create it and post it. So don't have a perfection thing, because you just
You
overwhelm
just
yourself
need
to
to
not end
start
up
it.
doing anything, only in the pursuit of
Yeah.
perfection.
So for
So
that, yeah, I realized Trello was there. So what I was talking about. So it helps me to prioritize things that okay, and in fact that's why I go for different things, that okay, for maybe marketing things I'm going to do this, and maybe like to meet my for consultancy things I'm going to do this. So that's where different things come into the picture, and for that matter in fact I do also divide myself into days as well, that
Hmm.
this day I will be focusing on these things, and that particular day I will go for this, right? So it helps me to go in a particular zone. So that's how
That's
people
great.
can also do. So it will help you to stop worrying so much about like
Hmm.
different tasks,
And
because
I
you
feel
know
the
that
people
you have
then should
allotted.
commit to it once they made that schedule for a short period of time, definitely. Because then the distractions when they come in, then you have to kind of, kind of ignore them. You have to have that I'm doing this particular thing at this time. I've even had cases where I've spoken to some successful freelancers, like even when there's an important client calling and he is in the middle of certain task where he has to focus, he has to think something, he's ignored that call at that time because they know it'll just their mental framework will go, they'll not be able to in that space where they have to think creatively, so they
Yeah.
lock themselves out for that time.
Yeah,
So
sometimes it is different. Yeah, to make your clients understand that this particular thing, like seriously, I have like very hard time explaining them that my time it's not about that I cannot give you out of that specific hours. It's just help me to be organized, because I cannot spread myself too thin, right, into so many things.
that's right.
So it helps you
You
to
can like
set.
kind of specify that maybe this is the time where I'm available, and the rest maybe can be a message which can be answered within 24 hours or something. So
Right.
it's not you're available on mobile or phone all the time. That's right. So great. So we'll go just the last question we'll cover. Then we'll go to Prakriti. That most of the time the coach has some kind of expertise, so he would want to create a community. Like say you are an expertise into you give HR related tips or something. So you will have the HR professionals and want to create a community for that. So for that, could you share some tips to the audience? You can hear me, Prakriti?
Yeah, I can. I think there was a yeah. So I think yes, community building is important. I think as much as the human interaction increases, there is a need for community building, because what happens where you're building the whole community, you're building the whole concept. There's a sharing of knowledge that happens. There's a sharing of practices that happens. So I think it's very important, and some handy tips I think definitely starts with an icebreaker at the very first instance, because you might know some people, you might not know some people. So those kind of exercises always helps. Then understanding of each other's work is also very important, and having that kind of respect for the other person's work, their time and the effort. I think when you come from that kind of a space where you have the empathetic outlook, I think that is always beneficial, because if we are not empathizing enough, we really can't communicate anything better. It could be anything, it could be a message or a campaign or anything for that matter. So I think once that whole concept and the whole synergy comes into the place of running behind a motive and trying to achieve something on a common basis, I think that's what really gears people up. That's what charges me up, and I think that's where the whole concept of making an impact. I always used to wonder, how can people do such great things, and building a community together. And the whole crux behind community is that you're all focused on one thing. You're all trying to look at one thing, and you're all trying to make that impact in your own different ways. But when you gather together, build each other's strengths. It's like building atoms. Each atom has its specific weight, but what you gather yourself as is the universe, and what you come out as is stars and moon and galaxies and planets. So I think each individuality and uniqueness coming together, forming and building that community, helps in achieving that larger goal, whatever the goal is. So I think that's where the whole power of community building comes into the picture.
That's right. Here in this, I want to ask, say can you correlate to like a fan club of a celebrity, like where it's not only that they, obviously you are a fan of that or you are using the services or something like that. It could also be that you're bringing them together. There's certain activities. So there is the common thing in the fan club would be the celebrity liking to that celebrity. Here it would be the of the services that are being provided. They are have taken your courses or something like that, or they follow you on social media channels. So something there is a commonality, and there should be more effort of intermingling among themselves also than you just having something where you are broadcasting. So it's not always about you as the content creator.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and that's what the whole community thrives on. There are places and there are activities that people adopt to, of course, in offline setting. There are pottery sessions, there are poetry sessions where people are just listening to maybe a person who's performing that profession or an art. It's just that inclination towards that specific field that just makes you come there, and you just sit there and listen and interact with people. So I think it's a very strong and a very powerful platform where you are taking people together, and then they're just interacting with each other. And as humans, we are social animals. We are by default looking for social interactions. So it's just a very beautiful way of this whole. I always look back to this thought lines of Vivekananda, who has come up with the concept of Samaj, and Tagore, who've spoken about Samaj. And that's what Samaj is all about. You're just trying to form that society where the whole ideology matches, and then you're trying to create great stuff. There are intellectuals that come out of it, there's art that comes out of it, and great ideas, of course. So it's a breeding ground for great ideas.
That's great. Awesome, great. So I think it's been a great session here on EdTech marketing. We've covered a lot of um, interesting topics and all. Great. So I'll be wrapping up. So before just we wrap up, just closing comments. Then anything you want to talk about also, anything you're doing or anything. So I'll start with Prakriti.
I think it's been a very productive Saturday. I would like to say that, because, and I think whatever we were speaking about, as in when we spoke about it, I could realize that that's exactly what we're all doing. We've all come from different fields, collaborating, community building, and trying to just talk out and explain, and having that kind of ease, sitting in different parts of the country, and talking about something that does matter. So I think that's what's important, and that's where we've unconsciously we've covered personal branding. How you reach out to people. Nikhil has reached out to me on LinkedIn, so that's where the power of LinkedIn comes into the picture. I've met Pragya through him. Again, the power of a social platform. We are talking and discussing ideas, community building. So I think it's learning from each other, and stretching that step ahead, and talking about things that matter. Marketing, something that connects all of us. Digital space marketing. So I think it's been very productive. It's amazing to catch up with people and interact, and I hope we should be able to do this in person someday, as and when the time allows. So it's been a great experience for me personally, really.
Definitely. It was great having you for this session. Thanks for taking out the time. And now I'll go to Pragya for a closing comment.
Yeah, I completely agree with Prakriti on this that it has been a productive Saturday, and I really enjoyed the whole session and learned a lot about it. Like, because there are questions that sounds common, but when you dive deep into it, then you find that okay, there are intricacies into it, right? And then knowing all these things, understanding these things helps you to be better. And in fact, it's not only about marketers, it's about everyone, because we have things to learn from different people. Nobody is perfect, right? So it was again a nice session. to be in, and I learned a lot. And obviously, looking forward to maybe meet you people again. Yeah,
Definitely. Thank you. Thanks, Prakriti, and thanks, Pragya, for joining.
yeah. Happy weekend.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. Thank you to the audience for coming in for this particular session. Thanks for taking out the time. And a lot of interesting sessions like this coming up. So please subscribe to the Marketing Intelligence YouTube channel for more interesting content on marketing. Stay updated what's happening, topical, and what you can learn and benefit from. Thanks a lot. Take care. See you.